Hey everyone, Niall Doherty here from $50blogs.net, and I've got another screencast for you today, and I'll be showing you something pretty cool. So earlier this week I launched a new version of my personal website, which you can see here. And one little feature that I added to it was this bit up at the top here, which shows how many subscribers I have, how many Twitter followers, and how many Facebook fans. Okay, so basically what that's called, what the cool kids call that, is social proof. And I show those numbers because they've reached a good level now, they're high enough, and new visitors coming to the site will see them and be more likely to give my site a chance. And why is that? Because the numbers, they indicate that a substantial number of other folks are already paying attention to my blog. Now, obviously, you don't want to show those numbers if they're very small, because first-time visitors, they won't take you seriously if they see that you only have 3 subscribers or 2 Twitter followers. So only show them if they're quite large. So you want to be, somewhat established as a blogger before you go ahead and do this. Okay, so now let's move on to the how-to. So how did I get those numbers displaying up there like that? You could achieve similar with some WordPress plugins, I'm guessing, but I wanted full control over the HTML and CSS, so I could just determine exactly how they were displayed. So this is not done via a plugin. Instead, I googled around and I hacked together my own solution. And it's pretty easy, I think, for you now to implement yourself. I'm going to show you how. So all it takes is some code in your theme's functions.php file. So there's functions.php in my theme folder, and there is the code of functions.php itself. To get this working, it also requires a little bit of CSS magic, but I'll leave the CSS to you and just go through the code here in functions.php. So you can, of course, copy and paste this yourself from the blog post that accompanies this video on $50blogs.net. But let me step you through the code so you can make the little tweaks you'll need to make to get this working on your own site. Okay, so first we have this function and corresponding action up at the top here. This is where it all starts for us. This chunk of code basically adds in the necessary HTML to your site. Specifically, it adds it into your footer because we specify WP_footer here in the action hook, and we later move it to the top of the page via CSS, but like I said, let's just stick to the PHP here. So that's what that chunk of code does. You'll want to change the links here as appropriate, linking to your own Facebook page and Twitter account, for example. Now, for each of those numbers that we have there, so for Twitter followers and Facebook fans, etc., we have a corresponding function which figures out what that number should be. So here's the function to figure out the Twitter number, here's the function to figure out the Facebook number, and here's the function to figure out the subscriber count. Now, as mentioned earlier, I didn't come up with all this code myself. I just found it online and modified it a little to suit my needs. But to give credit where it's due, I have links here commented out so you can go ahead and see where the code originally came from if you are so inclined. So a few things you'll need to change if you're using this code yourself. For Twitter, you'll need to plug in your own username here in this function. Replacing my one, which is ndoherty13. Feel free to follow me on Twitter if you like. For Facebook, you need to plug in 3 unique bits of info. 1, 2, and 3. I've hidden mine here so you can't steal them. But follow the original article, which is here, that I got this code from, and it's pretty straightforward how you get that Facebook info yourself. And one more thing you need to get the Facebook bit working are a couple of files from the Facebook API PHP SDK. And yeah, I don't know what that means either, but that same original article, this one here, actually let me show you that article. Here it is right here, how to display the count of your Facebook fans page in plain text. So in that very same article, it tells you basically how to do all this stuff, and it steps you through it in more detail than I can go into here. One thing though, for me at least, I needed to have both the facebook.php file here from that API PHP SDK. I needed to have the facebook.php file, there it is, uploaded to my own server, and this base underscore facebook.php file. I needed both of those for this to work properly, otherwise it was just throwing an error for me. So don't just use the facebook.php file on its own there. Okay, so the last one then is the number of subscribers you have for your blog. And this actually works via FeedBurner, so this whole function here. So hopefully you have your RSS feed going through FeedBurner. All you need to do is plug in the last bit of your FeedBurner URL into the code. I have mine right there. Let me show you. This is my FeedBurner feed, and that's my FeedBurner URL up here. I just grabbed the last bit like that, and I popped it in right there. Now a fun tip here, because the number you see for subscribers on my site right up here, it isn't just the number of RSS subscribers that I have, but also the number of email subscribers that I have. So how did I manage that? Well, I use Aweber for email subscriptions, and Aweber has some kind of automatic integration with FeedBurner stats when you use your FeedBurner URL for your blog broadcasts, which I have right here. So I'm not using the native RSS feed, which would be mysite.com/feed, but I'm using the FeedBurner feed, and that makes it all hook in to FeedBurner from Aweber. Now don't worry if that doesn't make a lick of sense, because I know it's a bit complex. You can just drop me a message in the comments and I'll provide clarification if you need it. So last thing with the code, I added a little bit of extra code in here just in case the numbers can't be returned for whatever reason, like if there's a problem with Twitter or Aweber or FeedBurner or whatever. So what this if statement here does is it puts in the infinity symbol. That translates to the infinity symbol if the real number can't be determined. So that's much better, I think, than just spitting out a 0 or something like that. So I have the same up here for Twitter. For Twitter, it does the exact same thing. It spits out the infinity symbol. Okay, so now just to point out that each of these functions that I have walked you through, so the Twitter one, the Facebook one, and the FeedBurner/Aweber one, they each return a number. So that's basically what they do. And then back up here at the top, if I scroll over here, we call those functions within the HTML that gets pushed into the footer of our site and then repositioned to the header via CSS. Okay? Yeah, I know it's a bit much, but it is pretty straightforward once you go through it yourself. I'm just trying to explain everything in a good chunk of detail here, but you don't really need to know exactly how all of it works. So once you have all that code in there, you would of course then upload your functions.php file, because that's the file that we've been editing. You would of course upload that to your web server, and then you would test it out to make sure that it all works nicely like I have it working up here at the top of my blog. Alright, so that will do it for this screencast. Once again, my name is Niall Doherty for $50 Blogs. Check back next week for another helpful WordPress related tutorial or /screencast dealio, and you can subscribe in the sidebar here at $50blogs.net/blog, and you'll get a heads up on any special offers related to $50 blogs, and you get advance notice of live support sessions where you can get all your blogging related problem solved and questions answered absolutely free.